guys, so I recently redid my bookshelves and I took that as an opportunity to look for books to unhaul. So I have not a huge stack, but a good amount of books that I would like to rehome. So I thought it would be fun to show you all the books I'm getting rid of and explain why. And then after this, we'll go on a walk to some little free libraries. So I have 7 books total, and I'm actually really surprised that these are all books that I haven't read yet. I feel like normally when I do unhauls, I have a couple of books that I didn't really enjoy that I want to get rid of, but luckily I haven't read any books lately that I wanted to part ways with. So these are all just books that have been on my TBR for a year or 2 years plus that I just don't think I'm ever gonna get around to. First is A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. This is a fantasy romance. It's a Hades and Persephone retelling, and I think it's the start of a series, and I saw this at Costco one day and I picked it up because I'd heard like 2 people talk about it, and since then I've never even thought about picking this one up. It's never been on my mind. I just haven't been interested. There was a time about like a year ago when I feel like I was really into the idea of spicy romances and fantasy romances. I feel like that's a very big fixation for Book Talk, Bookstagram. Everyone was obsessed with the spice, but I think I realized that it's not actually my real cup of tea. I want a book that I love for the plot, and then if there's a little spice in it, then fine. But this is a book that I remember I bought just because it was supposed to be spicy, and from what I can remember, I feel like people say the plot is really not that great, and I'm just no longer interested in books that are only spice driven. Same thing with this one, which is A Not So Meet Cute by Megan Quinn. This is one that I wanted to read for so long, and I never saw it in any stores, and I'm pretty sure it was last Christmas, so almost a year ago, that I was in Walmart and I saw this. I was like, oh my god, I have to get it because I've been looking for it for forever, but it's been a year and I've never picked it up. And my friend Mick read it recently, and she said that it's definitely one of those books that's just spice heavy, and that's really kind of all it has going for it. And honestly, I think I had forgotten about it at that point, so I was like, you know what, this is a sign to just get rid of the book. I feel like it's just not me anymore. So yeah, here we are. Next is The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins, and this is a mystery thriller. This is one that I've had for 2 to 3 years, and I've heard that it's just not that great, and I love the mystery thriller genre, but I feel like I have to be really interested in a book to pick it up. I'm never like, oh, let me just pick up a random mystery thriller. Like, I have to be really intrigued by the plot and want to read that one specifically in that moment, or I'm never gonna read it. And I've just never had the interest, and now that I know that people say it's not that great, it's just been sitting on my shelves. Which honestly, I could be wrong. It could be in my head that I feel like I've heard people say it's not great, and maybe it's phenomenal. I don't know. But I just know myself, and I know I'm never gonna read it. I'm too embarrassed to look at you, because this is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. A classic, maybe some would say? This is, I feel like, the blueprint for dark academia. This is so well loved. And I just really fear that I am not somebody who likes dark academia. I bought this back before I knew that I didn't like dark academia, and I was like, okay, premise sounds good. Everybody loves it, so I have to read it eventually. And then I read If We Were Villains by ML Rio, which people say is heavily inspired by this one. And I really didn't like it, and have given dark academia a couple more tries. And so far, it's just not really my thing. And this bad boy, I feel like is just such an undertaking. It's like 600 pages. I think it's 5 chapters. The font is pretty small, and I know this would take me forever. I think it took my friend like a month and a half to read this. And if I ever read it, it would be a situation where I would have to force myself to read something that I'm not in the mood for. And I just feel like there's no point. So maybe I'm missing out. Maybe this would really turn my viewpoint around on dark academia. But I feel like it's just a better option to give her a new home, and hopefully somebody will be really excited to see this one and will love it. Then I have Thieves Gambit by Kavion Lewis. And this is actually a book that I did pick up, and I tried to read it, and I think I got 30 or 40 pages into it. And I don't remember what it was about it, but I just wasn't really into it. I don't know if it was the writing or if I just wasn't that intrigued by the plot, but that was at least 6 months ago, maybe even a year ago. And since then, I've just never had the urge to pick it back up, so I know myself, and I know I'm never gonna get to it. I do also feel like part of the reason I'm not intrigued is that it seems like it's very similar to the Inheritance games, kind of. This one's a young adult, like, competition type thing about thieves. I feel like young adult is not always my favorite anymore, and for some reason or another, I didn't click with this one. Then I've got These Hollow Vows by Lexi Ryan. This is a book I've had for at least 2 years, and never one time I picked it up. Haven't even dreamed of it. About like 2-3 years ago, when I really got into reading, I had a really bad habit of just buying any book that I heard people talk about. I have since stopped doing that, but this is one of the leftovers from that phase. And I remember this is one of those books that people were like, oh, it's so much like ACOTAR, blah, 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 blah. And I hadn't even read ACOTAR by the time I picked it up. I still haven't finished ACOTAR. But it's just another book that I totally forgot about. I feel like it was hiding in the shadows on my TBR. And there's a couple people who did read it recently, and they were like, it's not that great. And it kind of just reminded me that I had this and solidified the fact that I'm probably never gonna pick it up. Last book I feel like honestly might be a mistake. This is probably the only one that I feel kind of 50-50 on, and that is Circe by Madeline Miller. This one, if I read it, I feel confident that I would be like, okay, I get what everybody says. Madeline Miller is a great writer. I just know myself, and I don't really like Greek mythology that much, and I've had this for 2+ years and never wanted to pick it up for that reason. And for some reason, I'm also just very intimidated by Madeline Miller's writing. I never read The Song of Achilles or or whatever other books that she has. So kind of the same thing as The Secret History, where I'm sure this is a phenomenal book and I think somebody's gonna be really excited to see this, but it's just not a genre that I really enjoy, and I know that if I haven't picked it up by now, I'm never going to. Okay, so all these books are gonna get a new home today. Well, maybe not today, but I really don't think they're gonna last long. And I really hope that each of these goes home with someone who's really excited to read them. In a little bit, we will go on a walk and drop these off.
Look, I have the John Gwynne book, one that you really want me to read. You want it? Read it together. Taking one book for Brendan. This one is all kids' books, so I'm certainly not gonna put the spicy books in here. I'll put this one in here because it's very young, I think, and appropriate. I'll put Cersei. It's for adults, but it's not gonna be inappropriate if somebody picked it up. So we'll put her in there.
Oh.
Can you tell someone's obsessed with their dog? This one took a beating a long time ago, but let's see what she's got. Oh, well, this one looks not good. I don't know that I want to put anything in here because it's stuffed and they're all kind of water damaged. Sprinklers are going off, so I'm sure you can hear that. Okay, I swear I put this book in here last time I did this, and nobody has taken it. They also have the Lost Bookshop, but I already own that. Since it's getting dark, I want this to be my last stop, so I'm gonna put the other three in here. I have to like hold this one up with my head. Very nice. We're done. Yay!